Alright, are you ready for some bullshit? Cause there's some bullshit, man. Okay, so Nvidia, right? They have had what is basically a monopoly on graphics cards for like way too fucking long, and it's really starting to show. So in a monopoly, there is one company trying to fuck you over. In a duopoly, there are two companies colluding to fuck you over. And that's kind of what we find ourselves in this situation right now, where for so long Nvidia's just been like so far on top, and they have deals with so many OEMs. AMD's like starving for market share, basically, because they only really exist in consoles and DIY. So, I mean, like, and then also there was for like the last 10 or so years, I want to say maybe even longer, PC gamers have always been kind of elitist pricks. And one of the things they would always say is don't buy AMD. And obviously for their CPUs pre-Ryzen, they were like hot garbage. But their GPUs weren't like all that bad. But gamers would tell you, oh, you need an NVIDIA graphics card, they're the best. Don't buy AMD. Their driver situation is awful. It's gonna like just crash all your games. And that just wasn't true. But I mean, shit, I even got screwed on the 5700 XT because I had one that was defective and would green screen all the time, but I sold it to a crypto miner because he didn't need graphics. So, anyways, yeah, like when you have when you're so far ahead for so long, this is kind of what happened to Intel, is you stop trying. You don't have to compete, so you just don't try. And that's why we get such middling performance gains. Everything goes into software, nothing goes into the actual hardware anymore. They've hit a wall, and the only thing they can really do now is like go to a smaller node and then maybe inch out more performance. But right now they're just like just push more watts into it, get more power, start house fires, whatever the fuck you gotta do, just get more performance so we can tell the shareholders that we improved. And that's where we're at right now, ever since like the 20 series. Um, not the benchmarks are fake now. Like the games are fake. They have fucking fake shit in them. The benchmarks are fake. The frames are fake. Like what the fuck, man? Everything. There's no real world performance anymore. Shit, I have to play my games fucking upscaled from like 720p or some shit. I gotta use DLSS on all my games, man, because they don't run well at 4K. So I gotta upscale my shit. I'm like, man, I got a 3090. This game should have been maxed out at 4K on a 3090 without DLSS. This is bullshit. But basically, when you have such a when you're sorry, when you're so far ahead for so long, I mean, like you're just gonna you can price things whatever the fuck you want, and that should be the lesson that we're about to learn is the demand will always outpace the supply. And this doesn't just have to do with graphics cards, this is also game consoles, which is why when the PS5 came out, you couldn't fucking get one. They're obviously because of the chip shortage, but for the longest time after that, I mean, shit, man, if you didn't already have, sorry, if you didn't get a PC, you weren't getting a console. Like, you could still get a Switch with pretty good regularity, uh, but like getting an Xbox or a PlayStation was like next to impossible. And I think the prices are finally dropping a bit as far as used ones go. I think you can get one for like it used to be about 400. Now you get like 350, maybe 300. You can start seeing some for like 280. So the prices are slowly going down, but man, like the console's already like halfway through its life. And if I put out a PS5, I can sell it in a day. If I list it online, somebody will buy it, somebody will buy it. So like, and a lot of people, especially during the holidays, they'll say, "Man, I can't get one of these." you know, they'll be like, "I just can't get a PlayStation." And so I'm like, "Well, I got one." In the back, I gotta put it out and all that. I gotta clean it and demo it and all that. But GPUs are having they have the same problem right now. They don't fucking make any, and so there's always like 100% demand. And so that's why I mean, like, shit, man. When I got the 3090, it was still worth like $1,000. It's probably still worth $1,000. Like, it's gonna be hard for that thing to go down in value. And that's what's really annoying about it because you used to be able to buy used shit and get better deals, and AMD is like smoking them in price right now. Like if you want a graphics card, man, just go AMD. You're gonna get a much better deal on it for decent performance. I mean, like shit, they want $1,000 for a mid-range graphics card. Mid-range, fucking 5070 Ti. They want over $1,000 for that fucking thing. Like what the fuck, man? Like I get it, hardware's going to improve, but that doesn't mean your fucking prices have to skyrocket to match. Holy shit, it's like $1 a frame, you know? And that's with the AI included. So, but like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? You can't boycott this. Like, you just can't. Because even if you don't buy things, there's like a million people that need workstation cards, and they will buy it, and they will pay whatever the fuck it costs. Like, you can go scalp whatever you want for $5,000 and they'll buy it because they need something. They just need to be up to date. And because of that, it's like, man, this is obviously like a monopoly. And honestly, if it wasn't for AMD having anything, I still think you could probably argue that Nvidia is engaged in monopolistic practices because there's two segments of the market, right? There's pre-built laptops and there's DIY and like system integrators. And pre-builds meaning being system integrators and OEMs. So it's like four things right there. And DIY is the only space AMD exists in. And to prove it, go on to Amazon, Best Buy, whatever the fuck you want, but make sure it has a filter and just look at their pre-built desktops. Don't even bother with laptops because AMD doesn't make laptop graphics cards for laptops. They do, but they make like one. They have like one product and it's extremely poorly supported. It's not only extremely poorly supported on Windows, it's also extremely poorly supported on Linux and even worse. And you wouldn't think, you'd be like, well, it has an open source driver. Why is it so poorly supported? And it's like, because nobody fucking has one. Nobody fucking has this thing. So don't buy it. Don't do it. But if you look up, I went on to Best Buy and I filtered it for Radeon graphics, like AMD graphics cards. And out of 2,000 results for pre-builts, I got two results. Intel had zero. Like you just weren't getting it unless it was integrated. And but Nvidia, I mean, they have deals with all these OEMs for exclusivity. And so I mean, like, if AMD even wanted to get into the space, what the fuck are they gonna do? You know? And so that's where a lot of Nvidia's market share comes in, because believe it or not, if you are building a computer, you are in the 1%. Fucking nobody's building computers, and there's still enough demand to meet supply well over. And that's just for people that are willing to upgrade every fucking year. Like holy shit, there's so many people that they fucking upgrade their CPU, their motherboard. Anytime there's a new motherboard, they gotta get the new one. They gotta get the new graphics card, and it's like fuck, man, just use your shit. The games aren't going anywhere, man. But and then now you're also competing with not only crypto miners, which are slowly dying off, but not quite, but also fucking enterprise. Like so when I was at IBM for a bit, I went into their like server room and they had just stacks of Nvidia boxes. And this is back when you can get them with like some sort of availability, but they'll just use consumer cards. They don't give a fuck. Like if you don't need to pay enterprise prices, you don't. So like what are you supposed to do? You can't boycott your way out of this because the supply is intentionally low and the demand is way too high. I mean like it is so obscenely high that you can't do anything about it. You can't, okay, well if you don't like it, don't buy it. Well, that's not gonna fucking matter. It's, you can't not buy your way out of this like you can with some game publishers where if enough people don't like their game, they just don't buy it and they go out of business. With GPUs, there's so limited supply and way too much demand, and it'll likely go. I mean, like shit, man. You can look at this video like a year, 2 years from now, and it'll still be the same. You can't get you can't get these new cards. It might be that way until the next cards come out, honestly. Like you may just not be able to get one. And that's really what's a bummer about it, is they can just price things I mean like any price. They could charge $10,000 for a 5090 MSRP and they would sell out immediately. Like that's where we're getting to because people have tried to counter me and they say well gaming's a pretty inexpensive hobby when you compare it to fucking golf where you can buy luxury ass golf clubs for $10,000. And I'm like, yeah, you can buy golf clubs for $10,000. You know what? I got some golf clubs from a thrift store, $10. And guess what? They're fine because there's something called competition. I don't have to buy $10,000 golf clubs. I don't have to buy a fucking luxury car. I don't need a Mustang. I can get literally any other car. I can get myself a fucking 86 Corolla and it'll run fine. Yeah. It might not run fine, but it'll go fast, if you put the right parts in it. But basically like with graphics cards, who's your competition? AMD? Like yeah, kind of. They can get pretty good performance, but man, the thing I'm starting to realize with this card, because I didn't realize just how important the software shit was. Where I was playing a Warhammer Darktide today, and I had to put some launch options into Proton. That's something I haven't had to do very much before. But what happened though was I turned on DLSS and the fucking anti-lag bullshit, like the whatever that thing is called, and man, it's like the smoothest I've ever played it. Like on AMD, it was a stuttery mess. Like even with FSR2 enabled, I couldn't get a decent frame rate to save my life. But a lot of it comes down to the software you're using. And NVIDIA is like so far ahead when it comes to software. And that's what's really annoying about this proprietary shit is a lot of software relies on it. The stuff like CUDA, obviously, if you're into workstation tests, you need a NVIDIA card because you need CUDA. If you're playing games, you probably need DLSS. This is kind of the way it goes, because the games are becoming less and less optimized. You're getting no fidelity gain, but you're getting a shitload of performance loss generation after generation, and there's just no reason for it. Like there's no reason for the games to run this shitty. They don't look really good for how shitty they run. It's really annoying. But yeah, I mean like, people say that it's an expensive hobby, but or sorry, not an expensive hobby. I'm like, man, this didn't used to be this expensive though. Even counting for inflation, it doesn't even come close. So like what are you supposed to do? You know? And there's really nothing you can do about it. I think honestly, if I were like the FTC or whatever, I'd look into breaking up Nvidia. It's just obscene because they're fucking over everybody with their prices. Like it's got to be insanely huge margins on these cards. And the partners, of course, are probably getting screwed on that too, where they have to buy the cards for such a high price and then make coolers for them, and then try to get whatever razor thin margins they can. I can see why EVGA got out of the market, but then they fucking killed everything. So like, what the fuck? Because they were making good PSUs. I mean, what the fuck, man? Just like they were rebranding Superflower, but they were fine. They wanted to get out of that too. They were making good motherboards. They wanted to get out of that too. Why? Like Nvidia fucked you over, so you gotta fucking kill your entire company and lose everybody their jobs. What the fuck? You probably make more money not doing GPUs. Like holy shit. But yeah, I mean it's just too much, and it's too pricey now. It's priced me out on the market. That's for sure. I can't fucking afford any of the shit. I can barely afford a CPU, much less like if I wanted to go socket AM5. I mean, like I'm looking at 300 for like a decent CPU, not like the most budget thing I can get, which I think is like the 8400G or something, which would perform about as well as my 5800X, maybe a bit better. and I would need to spend all the money on RAM and all the money on new motherboard, and that's just way too much, man. I mean, like the prices, the prices have just gone up way too much because there's no competition and they can do whatever they want, you know. So I wouldn't worry about GPUs for a while. You know, they're gonna continue to price people out of the market, and it's really annoying. Because like, when you can't do anything as a consumer. If they want to price you out, they can do that, and they'll still sell out. They're they can do whatever. So I don't know. Hopefully, it gets to the point though where they tell Nvidia to knock it off or something. I don't know. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.